The world needs to know at Medical Lake, this is a special program and it requires us to really check into the mental health and well being of students. And we do that creatively, innovatively, and we find ways to serve students. So I would say that we're different than most schools, not only in the state, but in the nation, because we find ways to find services for students. We're working in one system, talking to each other. We've reduced barriers, and the plan is that everyone can access mental health for well being. We've prioritized well being as being the top, even I would say above academics, so that we have a place where kids can learn and feel safe to learn.
So, the reason I believe that we've made the shift to really focus, I'm going to say the whole student, with mental health and wellness in addition to academics is because if a kid isn't safe at home, if a kid doesn't have access to food, if a kid doesn't have access to mental health and even primary care, they're not going to learn. And so, as myself being an emergency department nurse and understanding the other side of this, when we can provide these services at school, then education is actually better. And I feel like as the school board and as the district, we want our kids to have access to services and stay in school and be successful. And we know if we provide these services, they don't have to take 2 to 3 hours to go to a mental health appointment in Spokane. They can walk over to the wellness center before school, after school, during school, and maybe they miss a period. And we know that's going to be a much better trajectory for them than having to miss multiple days.
The things that have changed in the past 4 to 5 years really goes back to the impact that schools felt when COVID came into play. I think initially when we started getting these, to me at the time, and they existed as rumors that we were potentially going to be shutting down school. Through that whole experience, it just illuminated that much more the need for mental health in schools. And ever since that point, we've been adjusting and adapting to meet the needs of our students. Clearly, it's not just an issue with the students as well as staff, because staff and extending families beyond our walls as a school district just encompassed really the whole community. So it was really important for us to have a community-wide response to address the needs that we were starting to see that much more.
I feel as a classroom teacher, when I first heard about social and emotional learning, I was, well, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a counselor. But you actually don't have to be. You can do little things like the temperature check or do a Google Doc to just ask them how they're doing, or check in with them at the door. Or as the kids are working, just kind of going around and doing a check with them. Right there, that's starting working on their mental health. When kids know that you care about them and you really care about how they feel or what's going on with them, that's the first step in addressing their mental health. If you feel they need more, then turn to the resources that are available to you. You don't have to do all this. If the resources are there, you can pair with them to get this done.
I know that sometimes as a union member and a union president, you might look at this sort of ancillary spending and wonder what is going on over there. But I can say 1,000% that the money that goes into the Wellness Center here in Medical Lake is supporting the kids, which is by extension supporting my members. We need these services to be able to do what we do with fidelity. And 100%, this is what does it for my people, so would support it absolutely.
It's an unfortunate reality of living in Washington in general, or the Northwest, is especially with the fires and how devastating the Gray Fire was to this community. I think the realization the know that they had this support here made a mountain of difference. There were community members, there were staff members, there were children directly affected by the fire, and even if they didn't utilize the services that were provided to them here, I think just knowing that they had that support waiting for them if they ever needed it made such a huge difference and brought the community together that much more.
The fire actually hit us pretty hard. It impacted a large community, a large part of our community, not just the military, but also our district employees. Ironically, my brother, his in-laws, their neighbors. I obviously know my brother well, but he lost his house. All of his neighbors across the street are one of our secretaries, a retired secretary. It is the district. That fire devastated this community, but as you've seen in nature documentaries, there's always a regrowth. And I think that's what happened here. We kind of bonded together when we didn't really know our neighbors very well. In this day and age, everything's on our fingertips through a phone. Really connecting with your neighbors again helped this community rebound. It is still a long process. We're still rebuilding, but that fire really almost a blessing in disguise to show how strong this community really is.
Having a mental health program that's already established in the school has very, very much been helpful when we've had incidences here, not only in our community, but in surrounding communities, that people have known that we're here and that we're here to help. And so all it takes is a phone call to myself, Tawni, or our superintendent, and they know that there's an army on the way to help them. So we've been in neighboring communities and even served in our own community when emergencies have come up that just needed some extra love, some extra support. And it's helped to have this great team just ready to serve. And they go out and they do it, and it's amazing.
We were in such a unique place to respond to the fires this year because we were able to have these systems in place, which nobody ever wants a natural disaster to happen. But when you've invested in wellness, so you have access to mental health services, we have access to provide clothing and gift cards and things. We have systems in place. So we were able to just take the work we were already doing it and expand it as we needed. We're also able to be involved with the community in a way that was really intentional. So we were able to put into place some surveys to find out which of our staff and students had lost their housing, what they needed, providing really intentional needs. I had in my past have lived through Hurricane Katrina and remembered all of the things that people sent us that weren't helpful. And so I was able to advocate to say, we need to get gift cards and get like cleats for football or things that people really need. And so able to have those systems in place and know who needs them, I think was really helpful. And then just to provide a space for people to come and be heard. I think it was a few months ago, they were able to have just a forum on mental health where community members can talk about the mental health behind losing your house and be able to cry safely, be able to talk to other people who are going through the same thing. And if we didn't have this building, it would have been a lot longer for that to happen.
A lot of people who don't know how to reach out and ask for help or think that I've heard many times, I'm okay, there's people that need it more than me. And so trying to convince people that it's okay and the resources are there and we want to come out. And a lot of what we're finding is people just want someone to talk to and tell their story about the day, that day and what it was like to watch the flames come up behind you in your car. And your pets are in the car and your kid who doesn't, this is a story that always sticks with me with one of our staff members, but her son is driving his sister's car and he doesn't know how to drive, but he's driving it and she's got all the pets in the car and the pets are going crazy. So she's just trying to sort of either survive that, and there's flames all around and they're leaving town and they go across the lake and they go to their friend's house across the lake and they're waiting and they're, watching and they can see, and like I said, when they left their home and their school, because they live near the school they work in, they thought everything was on fire. And so they waited at their friend's house. Well, then the fire jumped the lake. And so they had to evacuate again through flames and through, all of the people that were like on the road and stuck and couldn't get there. So those stories I've heard over and over and over again from people, and they had their home when they came back eventually. And what happens then is they say, well, but I didn't lose my house, so I'm good. I don't need that extra support. And so it's really imperative that we go out of our space here and step out into the community where those people are and meet them where they're at, because it is a challenge to get them to come here and admit that they might need that kind of support, or even be able to sit in how hard that is. So during this time, that's really been the biggest benefit, I think, for my role, is I have that freedom and flexibility and to be able to go do that.
We had a really horrible thing happen this fall. We lost one of our students. And it was awesome to see the response to that. They were there the next day. We had staff from here, we had counselors from every school, other districts volunteered to help, and we had people came with dogs, and the wellness center set up a room in our school where kids could go when they couldn't handle being in class. So that response, the situation was horrible, but the response and the support from the wellness center were amazing.
So what I'd like folks to know is that it's not perfect. It's still evolving. I wish we could say we've got it all figured out and it's just absolutely seamless and perfect, but it isn't. When you're working with human beings, it's going to have some bumps and some things that need to be ironed out, and we're still working through that. But as a team, as a collaboration, not only as with our mental health team, but from staff and community members that help pool together and say, I could add that, I could share that my expertise in this or that, and everybody pooling together, it's created something that is sustainable and beautiful. And I would say we need more of it. And just being able to have that out there and say, even though we've got a good thing going, we need more. We need more funding, we need more support, we need more people to say this is a priority.